Hi boys and girls, it's Mrs. Schaab and I'm here to read to you today The Secret Life of Library Books by Anne J. Brown, illustrated by Stephen Kiernan. For Molly and Harry, my favorite readers. Mrs. Davis always looked forward to seeing her library books after the long summer break. She considered them her friends and treated them with as much love and respect as she did the students. To her surprise, there was a stack of letters on her desk, though she didn't think anyone had been in the library all summer. Curious, she opened one. To Mrs. Davis. Hello, Mrs. Davis. Dear Mrs. Davis, hello, how was your summer? I had a nice long nap and I'm ready to be checked out. It is such a joy to be held and read by a child. I'm writing to let you know that last year, on more than one occasion, I got crumbs stuck between my pages. I'm itching like crazy. Kids need to know that food, drinks, and books don't mix. Last year, a book was ruined from spilled apple juice and was withdrawn. I don't want that to happen to me. Thanks, Big Bear, Little Bear. P.S. I also have a tear on page 12. Ouch! Another letter read, Dear Mrs. Davis, last spring, 2 days before school is out, Jack and his friends decided to play football with me. Flying through the air was terrifying. My spine got broken when he spiked me for a touchdown. Ow! Just when I didn't think it could get any worse, he left me on the ground, and I got mud on my back cover. Then I sat on the shelf all summer, filthy. Birds are meant to fly, not books. Can you fix me? I'd like to be in good condition for the next kid who wants to read me. Hopefully not a football player. Sincerely, Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's library. Mrs. Davis was shocked. She didn't want her friends to suffer. She decided to add her rules to her rules poster already hanging on the wall. Library rules. 1. Quiet voices in the library. 2. No running. 3. Keep books away from pets. 4. Return your books on time. 5. No food or drinks near books. 6. Books cannot be used as footballs, baseballs, or soccer balls. She also decided to create a book hospital, a place where books could go that needed repair or extra care. Then she put a damaged book on display where students could see why it could no longer be checked out. Then she opened another letter. Mrs. Davis, I'm so nervous. Do you remember last year Julia checked me out, brought me home, and somehow I ended up under her bed for the rest of the school year? Months and months I sat there, next to a dirty sock and some gum wrappers collecting dust. I have never been so lonely in my life. I missed out on being read. If I hadn't been for her mother finding me, I would have probably still been under her bed. I was hoping you might share my story to the kids, in hopes that no other book would be lost just like me. Glad to be back on the shelf. Junie B. Jones and some sneaky peeky spying. Over the years, her students had lost and eventually found their books. Some of the places where they were found were rather interesting. She decided to create a brand new lesson plan to discuss places students might not think to look for a lost book. In the car, under the couch, under the bed, in the bathroom. The next letter read, Dear Mrs. Davis, do you remember me? I hope you do, because it seems no one else does. I haven't been checked out in over a year. Try to look as interesting as possible, but I'm overlooked every time. Sophia was the last kid to read me, and we had a great time together. I'm getting stiff sitting here day after day. How can I make myself more noticeable to the kids? Your lonesome friend, Penderwicks. Mrs. Davis went to the stacks and pulled out the books she knew rarely got any attention, but were still terrific stories. She displayed them on a table so students would notice them as soon as they entered the library. Welcome back, remembering old friends. There were still a few letters left to open. The Most Honorable Mrs. Davis, I am one of the most senior classics in this library. At one point, I was checked out and read constantly. Lately, I haven't been getting the attention that I used to. This bothers me because I know I'm a great story. I know my cover is a little worn, but I'm a classic. Doesn't that mean anything anymore? It seems that all the newer books in the library get all the consideration. This just makes me so melancholy. Your kindred spirit, Anne of Green Gables. This letter motivated Mrs. Davis to try an idea she had wanted to do for a long time. She immediately sent out an email to the teachers at the school. To the teachers, from Mrs. Davis, regarding classic children's books. Please email me the title of your favorite classic children's novel. I want to incorporate everyone's recommendation into a new bulletin board display in the library. Thanks! The first week of school, the students were greeted with a new bulletin board. Check out your teacher's childhood favorite books. Robin Hood, The Secret Garden, Black Beauty, Anne of Green Gables, The Boxcar Children, The Swiss Family Robinson. Another letter began. Dear Mrs. Davis, I hate to bother you, but why do the kids like to put me on the shelf backwards? It drives me crazy. Quite often they put me back upside down, backwards, or not even on the right shelf. No one can find me if I'm not on the shelf properly. Am I right? Your friend, Magic Treehouse, Soccer on Sundays, number 52. Mrs. Davis had noticed books misshelved, and to be honest, it drove her a little crazy too. So, for the very first week of school, she filled her library book cart and demonstrated how to use shelf markers to properly reshelve a book. Dear Mrs. Davis, roses are red, violets are black. Kids don't check out poetry books. Did you know that? We never get checked out, Mrs. Davis. I don't think it's because kids don't like to read poetry. I think it's because they don't know where to find us. We're all the way over in the 800 section of nonfiction. No one ever looks over here. The children never come our way. How can we get their attention? Sincerely, Where the Sidewalk Ends. Mrs. Davis agreed that the students would read and enjoy poetry more often if they knew where to find the books, so she used her very last bulletin board to create one more display. Poetry. In the nonfiction section, James Stevenson, Judith Verwoerd, Shel Silverstein, Jack Perletsky, Ann Turner, J. Patrick Lewis. During the first week of school, the library was busier than ever. Mrs. Davis shared the letters she found on her desk with every class that week. The kids really seemed to like all the new displays and were anxious to check out books. She had a feeling the students would feel differently about how they used the library for the rest of the year. Both the students and the books were much happier now. As Mrs. Davis left for home that day, she wondered if the next morning she might find a thank you note or two on her desk. The end. Hope you enjoyed that book about the library.